They may be drinkers, Robin, but they're also human beings.
The Wrestling Life.
Hey everybody, it's The Wrestling Life. It's episode 414, first week of July 2025. I'm Ethan.
And I'm Liam.
Liam, we have so much to talk about this week.
And as always, so many things we can't talk about on the first and only wrestling podcast.
Night of Champions is in the books. Evolution and Saturday Night's main event are up next. Dynamite had their 300th episode this week. The 100th episode of Collision is airing this weekend. Next week is Hell Week. Next weekend is Hell Weekend with Great American Bash and All In head-to-head Saturday afternoon. Saturday night's main event Saturday night. And WWE Evolution on Sunday. I think I'm tracking all of that. Also, Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor next Friday. Head-to-head with SmackDown. So, start with Night of Champions. John Cena and CM Punk. Everyone's favorite capitalist, yet leftist professional wrestler. Did a worse version of matches that they used to do 15 years ago. What'd you think of Night of Champions as a whole here?
I mean, these Saudi shows have just like a film of extra grime to them anyway. So I'm a little bit more predisposed to not like them anyway, but I thought it was fine. Nothing on the show will be memorable or like anywhere near a match I'll remember in, the end of the year or whatever, but it wasn't offensive. I really didn't like this. I would say the wrestling in the Punk Cena match was fine. If you, again, as you said, if you enjoy them doing the same match they had a long time ago, but worse. But and then we just got all the gaga and I hated all of that. So it wasn't bad. The stuff with the Punk Cena match was not my cup of tea, I would say, by the end.
It's fair. Just an overall thought I have on WWE programming right now. There was a social media post not that long ago that we passed back and forth about Ben Affleck, and like, does Ben Affleck only know two women? Because he's always either marrying or pining for Jennifer Lopez or Jennifer Garner.
Right.
Two very different human beings.
Undoubtedly so.
Both named Jennifer, both in their 50s at this point. CM Punk know any wrestlers besides Seth Rollins? Does he only know one wrestler?
I'm glad I stuck with
these
you.
guys.
I didn't know where you were going when that sentence started, and I was like, "What? Where are we going?" But I'm glad I stuck with it. You stuck the landing on that.
Thank you. These guys have been feuding almost 2 years at this point. I thought we settled this
multiple times. God. I'm so sick of this. This is the thing to me about Monday Night Raw as a show, which I think has been a little bit more watchable as of late, but only in the sense that it doesn't offend me. It hasn't been particularly good, but it's fine most weeks. I find it watchable. But the idea of more Punk and Seth is so uninteresting to me. I think we saw the best match they were going to have. It was that first one they had on the first Raw on Netflix in January of this year. I don't think they're topping that. Then they wrestled again in a cage. Then they wrestled again at WrestleMania, and Seth won. And I guess because they tied in Heyman to it, that's why it's supposed to feel fresh because Heyman turned on Punk. But really, he hadn't been with Punk in so long. Again, goes back to CM Punk loving to reference things that happened 15 years ago. Uh, the money is Roman coming back for revenge for Paul turning on him,
Yes.
and Roman
Yes.
decided to take the summer off. So that's the only thing that could be interesting. Not that really anything Seth Rollins could do at this point could interest me because I've seen it all. We've seen heel, we've seen babyface, we've seen silly little outfits Seth. We've seen every version of Seth. We've seen blonde hair Seth. We've seen it all. There's nothing left that Seth Rollins can do that interests me. You should take what did Lawler always say? You should take 6 months off and then quit. That's how I feel about Seth Rollins. Take 6 months off and then not come back at the end of the 6 months. I'm so sick of Seth Rollins as the top character on this show anyway, and then the idea of continuing a feud with him and Punk is just horribly uninteresting. And yeah, I mean, if nothing else good came out of the Punk Cena feud, it at least got Punk onto something we hadn't seen him do since he came back. Got him in front of a different opponent and cutting promos on someone else. So and now we're just dragged back into it. And now with the weird added wrinkle that Seth also has the money in the bank, which is a gimmick that Paul Levesque clearly doesn't know what to do with. So why do you keep doing the match? You're the booker. You could just not do Money in the Bank this year. But we have to because it was June or whatever, so we had to do Money in the Bank this year. So it's just there's a lot I hate about the current main event direction of Raw, despite me saying that I feel it's more watchable than it has been in a while. And it's mostly due to how the most interesting things about the top heel act is Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker as the two indestructible badasses, and they're in a tag team wrestling mid-carders while Seth is the main event guy. It's like, just there needs to be a reallocation in this group if you're going to make me care about it.
Well, why don't they have the tag team titles instead of Finn Balor and JD McDonough right now?
Great question.
I mean, I think we're getting there, but let's get there a little quicker.
Yeah, they've been an act on TV for 4 months already or whatever.
Yes. Speaking of tag, we will get back to Night of Champions briefly, but the tag team titles, the New Day turned heel. They brought Big E back for the big angle where they turned heel on their injured lifelong comrade, their buddy, as Michael Cole likes to say. I've had about enough of Michael Cole, by the way.
Yeah.
He's not as bad as he used to be, I don't think. He's just bad in a different way now.
Exactly.
And famously on this show, we're not Michael Cole haters.
True.
Big Cena matches back in the day, he would pull out a good performance once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
When Vince first left, we got a little bit of a different side of Michael Cole that was less grating on my nerves. Now it's grating on my nerves in a different way. And we have the return of the worst broadcast team of all time, in my view, Michael Cole and Corey Graves, two assholes yelling at you. That's all it is. That's what it is. I don't like to swear on the show, but I do like to swear in general. But I don't like to swear on the show, but that broadcast team is two assholes yelling at you for 2.5 hours every Monday night. Anyway, I don't care for yeah, so the New Day. They turned heel and then they had the tag team titles for a little while and then they just lost them to the Judgment Day, and not even the part of the Judgment Day that's over. The guys in the Judgment Day that are not over on Raw this week. They just dropped the tag titles to them. And the Judgment Day are kind of de facto baby faces anyway. It doesn't really matter. But why did we go through all of that to turn the New Day and do the big angle, the break glass in case of emergency angle where they trash Big E? Just for them to end up in a worse, arguably worse spot than they were before they turned.
Yeah, they kind of Trent Beretted him, didn't they? We were also just talking about how Trent turned heel and, if anything, has lost status on the show since.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what happened to the New Day. They turned him heel. They got a massive heat for that turn. It was one of the most like celebrated segments in certainly in WWE in years, and they slotted them at the exact same level, if not a little less. Like they just, I don't know. There's some reason why, something about Xavier and Kofi, that Paul, I guess, just doesn't see them as top guys for some reason. It's a mystery what that could be, but yeah, to say that it was disappointing. Like, there's very few ways that this company can disappoint me anymore because of how little I expect from it. But like, it really felt like they had something unique and they were generating real heat in a company where it is a struggle to get fans to really buy into anything anymore. It felt like they really had something with New Day and they could have made them like a top act on the show, and they did nothing. They did less than nothing with them. Won the tag titles once in a Clash of Clans match with at WrestleMania and a sponsored content match,
Yes.
and then dropped them a couple months later to the Irish geeks in the Judgment Day.
Yep. That sure is what happened. I we chat during Raw sometimes, and I think I'm on one Netflix plan and you're on another, and
Mm-hmm.
you're on the tier that they figured out how to show you commercials.
Yes.
It's like 3 months after they bought the WWE Raw show, they just ran the show for 3 months with no ads,
Yeah.
and then they figured it out for the lower tiers. I think I saw commercials 1 week or 2 weeks, and then I'm back to just a lot of faffing about during the tremendous turn of phrase by yourself.
Thank you.
A lot of faffing about during the ads, and it's just they sent the New Day out there to cut promos during the commercial breaks for like 3 months, and that's all they did.
Right.
They wrestled the War Raiders a couple times, and other than that, they just cut bad rag on the local sports team heel shtick promos for during commercial breaks for 3 months, in between Jackie Redmond interviewing Karrion Kross every week. It's infuriating, absolutely infuriating.
Yes.
Night of Champions, John Cena beat CM Punk. Jade Cargill won Queen of the Ring. Uh, Jade Cargill and Asuka. Interesting wrestling match.
Yeah, it was a struggle a little bit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess again because I had no idea what to expect from Jade, who has not really had a good match since coming to this company. And to be fair, she was out of the ring for a long time for reasons that were never made clear to me,
Yep.
as a viewer. But and then Asuka coming off an injury and also being, you know, she's been in WWE for like 10 years now. She's not. It's hard for me to just say she's old because you're
She's
not
almost
supposed to say that about a lady. But
she she's almost 44. She'll be 44 in a
right.
month or two.
In the interest of respect, which hey, on the male side, she'd be one of the youngest stars in the company. So I don't want to say that like because she's 44, she needs to get out the door. Accidental rhyme, but yeah, that's a factor is that she wrestled a very hard style and maybe the Asuka that could get great matches out of people like Nia Jax and other limited performers, Dana Brooke, those types when she was in NXT or on the main roster at the beginning. Maybe that Asuka does not exist anymore, which is not her fault. But yeah, she's 44 and coming off an injury, and Jade isn't very good and hasn't been given much chance to get better, to her credit. So, but she's got the look they like, and they're doing something here to, I guess, go towards her and Naomi and eventually Bianca when Bianca's back full time, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Solo Sikoa got the US title. Tala Tonga finally debuted. Hikuleo, who I saw in an airport over 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago at this point, who was about to go to WWE 2.5 years ago. Finally makes his non-main event debut here. Whatever. Jacob, obviously they had to get the title off Fatu because he's so much better than everything connected to the WWE mid card. But
Yes. I
Sammy,
think Fatu is in the running for guys who should take the belt off Cena. Like, I think he's on the short list right now.
no objections.
Maybe it's just because I
I
don't
mean,
see anyone else being like ascended towards that spot right now. And it's, he has to still be a heel at least when he loses the belt, one would think. So whenever they decide they're going to take the title, unless they just have him drop it back to Cody, I guess. But that to me seems like a waste.
I feel like that's what's gonna happen.
And then you get 3 months of babyface John. He's seen the error of his ways. They're going to do WrestleMania 18.
Yeah, I think so. I believe so. Yeah. I mean, hey, one of Cody's favorite matches.
Yeah.
Sami Zayn beat Karrion Kross. You know, I've been told repeatedly that Karrion Kross is really getting over, and that he has some of the top selling merch on WWE Shop on Fanatics. WWE Shop, a Fanatics experience.
A fable.
I don't know, man. I've still, yeah, I've still yet to see any evidence of him actually being over.
Nobody that comes to the arena buys these shirts, huh?
No.
Maybe they're on cheap seats. I don't know. There are no cheap seats at WWE shows anymore. But
it's really offensive how expensive their tickets are.
Yeah, it's gross.
It's really offensive. Rhea Ripley beat Raquel Rodriguez, and I don't know why this is on the show match. And Cody Rhodes won King of the Ring, beating Randy Orton. So coming out of that, they're doing the thing where they're promoting multiple shows at once. Drives me kind of crazy. But it's
well, we had to F with Tony's big weekend, didn't we?
Certainly did. I understand it. But it doesn't NXT Great American Bash coming up on Saturday as we go chronologically here. Obafemi will be defending the title against Yoshiki Inamura. Sure, why not? Jordan Grace will team with Blake Monroe against Fatal Influences, JC Jane and Fallon Henley. And Sol Ruka versus Izzy Dame for the NXT Women's North American Championship. That's what's official for that show so far. Saturday night's main event coming up after that. matches for that show now, which are Gunther versus Goldberg in a retirement match for Goldberg, allegedly, but he might win the title. But what if he wins the title and Seth Rollins cashes in on him?
Ugh.
I don't know how you get.
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just
No,
saying,
you go
I
ahead.
just have a violent distaste to the idea of Goldberg doing a job for Seth Rollins in any circumstance. I think.
Oh, agreed. But I mean, they kind of booked themselves into a corner by billing this as the retirement match. I mean, they've given themselves a little bit of wiggle room, saying, well, what happens if he wins? Well, we don't know. That's very interesting.
It's funny because it's the same thing they're doing. Theoretically, it's the same thing that's going to happen with Cena, right? You could just retire as champion and then you keep the belt.
Well, that's dumb. Why wouldn't they just strip you of the title immediately after you retire?
Well, I guess they will, but I mean, Cena's argument is then everyone will know for the rest of history that he's the real champion and nobody ever beat him for it. So I guess technically it would be the same thing. Big Bill would just retire undefeated and then they'd strip him of the title and he'd be the linear world's heavyweight champion.
I want to be the world's champion. Extremely Eddie Kingston voice. I don't know why my Eddie Kingston and my Christopher Walken are very similar, but
A little bit of your local radio personality and former disgraced police commissioner Ed Norris impression too.
hey, it's Ed Norris here for Blue Chew. The guy's been doing radio at this point about as long as he was a police officer, and apparently he's equally bad at both things. He's a local radio star now who has a speech impediment and is wildly underprepared for every segment.
He's on a show with another former cop who also is bad at radio. It's a terrible, terrible show. Anyway, sorry to derail the show. That's not what you called.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Uh, I think what after you sent me Jim Duggan versus Goldberg from 1999 WCW Monday Night Show this week, I wouldn't hate this match with Gunther and Goldberg going the way that one went. That was awesome. It was one of the best 3-minute matches I ever saw.
Yeah, go for it.
I don't know. I don't care what they do either.
Well, yeah, I mean, I barely care what they do with Cena's belt. You're not going to get me to care about the fake world title they made for Seth so he'd stop pouting a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Like Goldberg could win it and retire. He could win it and then lose it back at SummerSlam, or Gunther could just beat it and then wrestle whoever is left over, or like you said, maybe Seth cashes in on whoever wins at the end, and that's how you get rid of one of your briefcases that you clearly don't know exactly what you want to do with.
I don't know why they didn't get rid of the briefcases. One briefcase during the Money in the Bank show, and the next one the next night or the next Raw.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason for these people to be running around with these briefcases other than it gives them a dumb booking trope they can go back to over and over again, where they tease the cash in to the point where when the actual cash in comes, you don't care about it because they've teased it so many times.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, Seth could just get a title shot any week on Raw, it feels like, and did like 3 weeks before Money in the Bank.
Correct.
So he doesn't need it. And I mean, like, Naomi's been champion on the show before, and she's on SmackDown, where like the top stars are not big stars. So it feels like, yeah, neither of the people that got briefcases this year needed the briefcase to elevate them to stardom. It's not like you gave it to, Carmelo Hayes and, I don't know,
Lonnie
Fab.
Lonnie Donegan.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also on Saturday night's main event, LA Knight's going to wrestle Seth Rollins.
Speaking of Hacksaw Duggan, that's kind of his role here is to lose to the top heel to set them up for the bigger stars.
Fine, fine. They've slotted LA Knight. That's fine.
Yeah,
And
people accepted it.
they did. They This audience does not fight. They don't fight the man.
Mm-mm.
And then LA Knight and CM Punk are kind of acting like they might fight. Um, I thought LA Knight was on SmackDown. Did he get moved to Raw? Doesn't matter. No, but
I'm like 90% sure he's on SmackDown because he wrestled. That's who Fatu beat for the US title. I'm reasonably certain.
yeah, I think that's they shouldn't split the brands anyway. It doesn't matter, but ugh. And spoiler alert, Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton. Think that's getting announced on SmackDown tomorrow. On the 4th of July SmackDown that they already taped.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's what we have for Saturday night's main event so far. Nothing there really lighting. I mean, the Goldberg thing is interesting, but everything else is just kind of matches. That's fine.
Sounds like 2016 all over again.
Yep. And then Evolution 2 coming up on Sunday, and there are 4 officially announced matches for the show, and then one that will get added on the 4th of July SmackDown. JC Jane defending the NXT Women's title against Jordan Grace is the first match official for this show. Io Sky defending against Rhea Ripley, first Io Sky title match in like 3 months.
What? I just have to say, this wouldn't maybe be such a problem if they didn't put the two authority figures all over every show, making matches for like Chad Gable and other doofuses that are on the low card. But like Adam Pearce doesn't care that his world champion hasn't defended in 3 months. He doesn't care that the women's world champion hasn't had a contender in months and months. Like he cares more about whatever's going on with the Latino world order than he does about the world champion. Like this, if the authority figures weren't so visible and constantly making matches on the fly, this would probably not irk me as much as it does that Io's just been standing around like saying hi to people backstage for 3 months.
Well, in their own story, Adam Pearce is bad at his job or has neglected his job.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Ugh. Women's tag team title match at Evolution. Roxanne was officially inducted into the Judgment Day and took Liv Morgan's tag team title. Fine. Like that that's going to be some delightful television whenever Liv gets back. But yeah, they'll be defending against the SmackDown team, Raw team, and a NXT tag team. No one could possibly care. Um, Battle Royal for a championship match at Clash in Paris, which is coming up after SummerSlam. So we're still almost 2 months away from Clash in Paris, and we'll have a contender for that. Fine. And then I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited about Tiffany Stratton against Trish Stratus in a singles match for the WWE Women's Championship.
I mean, that's big time. I mean, that's a big spot for her. I wasn't sure Trish was going to be doing any more singles matches after the Becky feud, so that's exciting. Like, yeah, I'm curious because that cage match was really good, and if I were her, I wouldn't come back if I thought I couldn't do something to that level. So we'll see. But yeah, she hasn't. I like that Trish comes back every couple of years. Like I think she has made herself the right amount of available to them where she doesn't wear out her welcome, but still feels like a big deal when she comes back.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for going along with me on that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Um, AEW. They have All In coming up next weekend. They are on the road to that show. Um, the build has felt very slow to me.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still enjoying the build to All In, their biggest show of the year?
I thought this week was better. Because I generally agreed that it's been very drip fed. Like they got the big matches announced pretty early on, like 5 or 6 weeks out, and then we've kind of just been said very pattern safe. One guy stands tall, other guy stands tall, week to week booking. This week they threw some fire, I thought, on the main event with they announced it's going to be a Texas death match. Hangman gave the lariat to Marina. um, and so you gave him his heat back after he got choked out the previous week. I thought that was good. And then they, as was necessary based on last week's promo, they explained exactly what the stipulation is for Swerve and Osprey versus the Young Bucks, and how the EVP status is on the line. But not that doesn't mean, unfortunately, we aren't going to get delightful vignettes of Swerve and Osprey as the new EVPs, like Steve Austin and WWF headquarters. But that's not what they're doing. So like they clarified some things. MJF's in the gauntlet match, which I think maybe was surprising because I think everyone was starting to think they were going to do something with him and Mystico, which I mean they still could. Mystico could be in the gauntlet match. But as someone pointed out, that show's in Texas and they're still trying to like move tickets. And I would maybe announce Mystico officially for the show and say what he's doing if that is the case. And then
Yes.
like the women's title, like the Mercedes and Tony stuff, I think is kind of they peaked it almost in the first week. Like they did that first promo standoff that I thought was very good, and then again, it's been very one lays up the other every other week type of thing. So it's not bad. I thought they had Mercedes do a pretty cool promo thing on Collision last week that I liked, but other than that, it's not really. I think that match has maybe feels the coldest of your 3 or 4 top matches on this show.
Yeah, no argument. Um, so for that show, we have Moxley and Hanger in a Texas Death Match. Haven't they already had one Texas Death Match? Like,
Yeah.
I don't care, but they had a Texas Death Match a couple years ago.
Yeah, Hangman hung him. That's how he won. Deathman is
I
dead.
thought I remembered that. They put the rhyme in the crime. Can we bring the brewskis?
Certainly. Bring the brewskis.
Thank you. All right. Tony and Mercedes is on that show. Okada and Omega doing a worse version of matches they did 7 years ago will be on that show. The men's casino gauntlet. I assume based on spoilers from Collision this week that Mystico is in the gauntlet. But they could also wrestle at Ring of Honor Supercard on that Friday night. I'm not sure.
I think the thing that made everyone think it was going to be a singles match was that MJF showed up on an MLW taping last week to attack Mystico, but maybe that's actually
correct
to set up a CMLL rematch at some point because they had MJF lose by DQ and then unmask Mystico. So obviously I would imagine the ultimate comeuppance for MJF is going to be in a CMLL show, but still, it's the AEW chose not to acknowledge that MLW angle on their television this week. So maybe it's more of a CMLL program than it is an AEW program.
Could be. That makes a lot of sense. I hadn't really considered that, and that's infuriating because I have to pay attention to another promotion. Women's Casino Gauntlet, and then Swerve and Osprey against the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks, they're the founding fathers.
Mm-hmm.
The founding fathers thing has gotten over with me, and I didn't think it was possible. I didn't think it would, but one when they did Anarchy in the Arena dressed as colonial American founding fathers, I thought that was absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
And even if they're kind of by the book, smarmy heel stuff, the promos and vignettes that they've been doing, building up this match where they give themselves a limo and they buy their sneakers and they
Hmm.
put cheap looking founding father stickers all over the limo with them in their powdered wigs and such. I think that's I think that's hilarious. And I famously hate everything the Young Bucks do that's not wrestling in a wrestling ring. And yet somehow this has gotten over with me.
Very big of you. To overcome your own biases. But yeah, I've enjoyed it. I think it's the freshest as characters the Bucks have probably felt since I don't know, the when they and Kenny were a heel trio and had all the belts on TV. That was the summer of 2021. So uh yeah, this is the first time, and Nick was rocking the Hollywood Hogan beard every week. That's, I think, the last time I enjoyed them as characters. So yeah, they're good at what they're doing. I also just like the weird dumb stuff, like they do a big salute in their entrance and then they do the Young Bucks pose. It's very silly, but it makes me laugh every week. Like yeah, that pervert Justin Roberts has to announce them as the founding fathers every week. It's good. It's a good shtick.
Yeah. And spoiler alert at All In, uh, America's best friend Adam Cole will be defending the TNT title against Kyle Fletcher. So, do we feel like Adam Cole is going to be in AEW in 6 to 12 months?
um I don't know, like, because I feel like he's certainly a Shawn Michaels protege at this point.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on how long he wants to be like a top, a featured wrestler. I don't know. He Because I feel like if he goes to WWE, he's like at the Carmelo Hayes level, but babyface.
Yes.
Which is not a terrible spot for a guy of his age and size. But yeah, so I don't know. I guess it depends on what he wants. Obviously, he's got friends he's because he's America's best friend. He's got a lot of friends in both companies, so it's not as obvious. It may depend on where his ex-girlfriend is wrestling in a year. we
It's another interesting story. Yeah. Uh, Body Slam this week made up a story
Mhm.
that Britt Baker wants to go to WWE. I guess just because they've been looking at her social media for the last several years. But yeah, Britt Baker is still kind of in purgatory, Guantanamo Bay.
Mhm.
Um, no change in her status, and I think she's put out there through back channels and friends in the media that she's happy where she is and just ready to get back wrestling, and I don't think we'll ever see her on AEW TV again during this contract. So I think she's being frozen out, and I think she'll be in WWE at some point. No idea when her contract's up.
Yeah, it's a weird one because I mean we discussed this. Speaking of collision spoilers, not that anyone could care about this one especially, but Scorpio Sky is back in AEW, and I thought for sure that was on like the Cody friend sitting out for an indeterminate amount of time before being quietly released or his contract quietly expires, and he shows up on NXT as a fresh faced 37-year-old.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. That made me go like, oh, maybe they'll bring her back. But also the last time she was on television, she was in the ring, crapping on her own booking. So
Yes.
maybe you don't trust her to be back on TV if she is unhappy with what she is doing on TV, the way maybe you think that Sky is more of a traditionalist when it comes to doing what's asked of him on TV.
Yeah. It's very weird to me. We were talking about this a little bit off the air about there are the people that are very clearly going to go to WWE at some point,
Mm-hmm.
as soon as they're contractually able. Um, Andrade, I would put Thunder Rosa in that camp.
Mm.
Scorpio Sky, Ricky Starks, Britt Baker, Mariah May.
Malachi Black. who swore up until the day he signed his WWE contract that he wasn't leaving for some reason.
He's an attention whore. Um, yes. And there are some people on that list that, for whatever reason, they will do business with, like bringing Scorpio Sky back for his fifth return. It's been almost 2 years since he had an AEW match. It's uh, like when Collision started. It
Yeah,
was,
they needed bodies for the Punk cordoned off quarantine collision.
yes. Uh, they kind of did business with Sean Spears. He was in a weird thing where he's kind of like on paternity leave, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
They would only use him in Canada, kind of thing. Ethan Page, kind of similar. I don't know. But then there's people that like Starks and Britt Baker that nope, you're gonna sit at home. Okay, all right. It's weird. I can't figure out. I mean, other than Starks and Baker must have really pissed the booker off. Is all I can think.
Yeah, and I guess the Stark strategy worked eventually in that he sat home for like 9 months and then he started doing a bunch of interviews being like, I don't know why I'm not booked. And then, got pulled from a GCW date and then was quietly released. So that was really funny that Tony pulled him from a date right before he let him out of his contract anyway.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, and then so I guess those are your options. You can either verbalize, scream from the heavens, I want out, I'm leaving, and whatever. Or you can, I guess, do what Britt's doing currently, which is when if anyone asks, nope, no problem here. I'm not trying to get out of my contract at all. Like I'll sit at home. I mean, we know she meets up with Nash on these conventions. Like she's they're very much cut from the same cloth, her and Big Kev. I think she's very happy, I think, to just collect the mailbox money, as it were. Or so it seems. Maybe she's not. Maybe she desperately wants to be back on television, but uh could have fooled me.
The thing I don't understand about Baker specifically is clearly this is someone that has Hollywood aspirations. Not that Hollywood is clamoring for her, but and I'm not knocking her. I'm just
Sure.
saying the realities are like Becky Lynch had a hard time getting real work in Hollywood. You know what I mean? Like she got some bit stuff and will probably continue to get some bit stuff here and there, but like there's no action movie vehicle for Becky Lynch that someone wrote or
Right.
anything like that. And Britt Baker is not anywhere near the star in wrestling that Becky Lynch was. So I like, but why isn't she instead of doing ads for DraftKings on her on her social media, which really appears to be her true passion in life?
Mm-hmm.
Why isn't she like maybe she is going on auditions and pursuing the Hollywood thing? I mean, obviously being in WWE will help that. She'll get with one of those talent agencies that has a bunch of wrestlers signed to it
Right.
and they'll plug her into some stuff. But like what is she doing right now that, you know, why isn't she on something that isn't AEW if she can be right now? I don't know. And as far as entertainment wise, I don't get it.
Yeah, it's a very good question. Like she is play other than to put out fires when people say things that she feels or thinks. She does not appear to be like very public facing with whatever it is she's been doing, other than her paid content for UFC fights on DraftKings or whatever.
Yeah. How do you feel about the Slim Jim tables?
Dreadful. One of the, it's a perfect bit of metaphor for this stage, this era, the late stage capitalism era of WWE in the vein of the Attitude Era or whatever. Like this is the sponsored content era. Hey, Jelly Roll might become a regular character on WWE television. in the coming weeks and months. It's as someone said on Twitter this week, WWE is also, in addition to just being a giant billboard now, also just like fantasy camp for rappers and country singers who haven't actually watched wrestling in like 20 years.
Yep, there's that too. Did you see Jelly Roll with The Rock on social media this week?
Good friends, apparently.
America's best friend, as our friend Mike pointed out. Dwayne Johnson is America's best friend.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to chat about?
Zack Sabre Jr. won the IWGP title on a show that wasn't aired live in on the Japan World. That was pretty weird.
Yeah. Yeah, depending on who you talk to, this is either planned for years or was banged up and they decided to get it off of him. I don't. Far be it from me to discredit Dave Meltzer, but the day the title change happened, Dave Meltzer was like, "This was planned. This was not because Goto was hurt. There's no injury." And then, like on cue, like 6 hours later, New Japan's like, "Hiroki Goto has an elbow injury and will not be on the rest of the tour before G1." And I'm like, "Huh. Well, I don't know. Maybe the G in G1 stands for Goto, and this was like a gold watch gimmick run for Goto, and maybe that was how it started out. But as we talked a little bit about on this show, business in Japan, I mean, the economy is terrible there, so it's not great. But business did tick up a little bit when Goto got the belt, and Zack Sabre's more over in Japan than he is anywhere else in the world, but is not still particularly over. And his run as IWGP champion did not set the world on fire last year and into this year. So I don't know. Like, there are worse things I can think of than if Goto's not actually that hurt, he wins the G1 or whatever and goes on and wrestles at Wrestle Kingdom and gets the belt back and gets his big crowning moment. But other than that, I don't understand. I don't understand what we're doing, but I don't know. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think you hit it. Like, in the immediate, it sure does appear like Goto's banged up. And then yeah, Forbidden Door is in London, and even though I don't think Zack Sabre Jr. being on that show as the IWGP champion is really going to, I mean, that building's like 3/4 sold out already anyway, and they haven't even really started promoting it yet. So I think they'll be fine either way. But anyway, but yeah, you can have Zack defend against Nigel McGuinness, or if he's back by then, maybe Pac or somebody. So like you can try to make that like the local flavor match, and then yeah, Zack could hold it till January and lose it back to Goto, or he could. I mean, they're big shows in like September and November, so he could always. I mean, Zack didn't wait till Wrestle Kingdom to use his G1 title shot, so maybe whoever wins the G1 won't do that either. So we'll see. And yeah, it's a plus in that it felt like they were really having trouble coming up with credible challengers for Goto. They didn't have anybody ready. This is a chronic problem in wrestling. No one ever thinks about what they do after the guy wins the belt. But yeah, so this immediately at least gives you a like heavier rivalry to go back to with Zack and Goto for whenever that rubber match is. So it's something they can, even if it wasn't the plan, which it doesn't appear it wasn't. Doesn't appear it was. They can at least make something out of it.
Yep. All right. Well, happy Independence Day weekend, everybody. And until next time, I'm Ethan.
And I'm Liam.
We'll be back soon with more stories from the wrestling life.
Adios.
Thank Thanks for listening. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Now, here are this week's bonus features.
Shad Khan and Vince McMahon on the tax breaks, I guess.
Come Monday morning, there's going to be cubes for my boys. Cubes for my boys.
It's important that he repeats it.
Yes.
That's what makes the whole thing.
Yep. So I had an 8:30 a.m. veterinary appointment this morning, just to get our dog his annual vaccines and his arthritis shot that he gets once a month.
Mm-hmm.
Get there at 8:30. Have to wait. Somehow they open at 8. Somehow they're already backed up at by 8:30 a.m. They're already wildly backed up. And now I'm looking at my phone to see if I can determine what time I left the vet. Spoiler alert, it was several hours later. Left the vet at 11:45. They get him in there, and they're like, well, he's a little chunky. He might just have a big belly, a recurring theme in my children, or he might have a tumor. Like, okay. Well, what are our options here? Like, well, I'd really like the vet is a very stereotypical hippie lady. And I'm not sure, but these people, I wouldn't have thought these people still existed. But this woman is a hippie. And it's like, well, on my want list, I would love to do an x-ray. I can't hear his heart as well as I'd like to. I can't, whatever. I'm like, okay, how much are we talking here? It's like, well, with the chest x-ray, I would also like to take his blood pressure. And at that point, the bill went from $1,100 to $1,500. Like, okay. Well, we're gonna do that. So, okay, they take him away. They're doing this stuff to him in the back, and they come back and they're like, "When did he have his medication this morning?" I'm like, "I don't know, 7:45." At this point, it's I don't know, 9:30. They're like, "You see, we need to draw his blood, and he's had his medication too close to the appointment for the blood draw to give an accurate reading on yada yada yada." So they're like, "How about you board him here for 4 to 6 hours? You go run some errands, and then you come back and pick him up." And I'm like, "Well, can't do that. My wife's at the hospital, and I can't. I need to go home and go to bed." So why don't we just can the blood draw wait until the next time he's here for his arthritis shot? And they're like, no, you see, because you're getting a discount today. And I ended up looking at the screen because they left the screen up when they left me in the room for the next 3 hours. I'm like, well, it turns out on the $1,500 bill, the total discount for doing all these services today was $25. I didn't know that at the time though. So they're like, well, you're getting a cost benefit today. So I'm like, well, look, I can't leave him here. And so can you just go ahead and draw the blood and and we'll say, yeah. But then the hippie vet says to me, look, I'm a big girl. I can I can interpret the results of the blood reading and kind of get an idea of where he is. I'm like, okay, well then why do we go through the whole you're gonna board him for 4 to 6 hours song and dance? All right, whatever. Comes back. It's like X-ray looks good. He doesn't have cancer, no tumors, no obvious anything. Um, would you like me to send these for an additional fee? Would you like me to send these x-rays to a specialist? Because I have 20 some years of experience in veterinary medicine, yada, yada, yada. Sometimes you send them to a specialist, though, and the specialist will see they're looking for specific things. I'm looking in general, they're looking for specific things. Like, I'm like, no, I'll take your word for it. Like, I'll trust your experience on that. I'm like, okay, great. She's like, also, by the way, on this X-ray, did you know that he has a little? And she's like gesturing towards some bones, and I'm like, oh, great. You telling me he broke a bone or something, and I
Right.
am not aware of it. She's like, he has a BB lodged under his left shoulder. Um, like, excuse me. She's like, he has a little metal pellet lodged under his left shoulder. He was shot with a BB gun at some point. Like, wow. It's like, because see here on the X-ray, here's his microchip, and then here is a BB. Like, well, what do you know about that? My dude has seen some, as it turns out.
Oof.
We didn't get it until he's 5 years old. He's almost 13 now, but apparently at some point in his young life he was shot with a BB gun. So we learned that today, and yeah, so got home at like 12:30. It's fantastic. The veterinary experience continues to find new and innovative ways to be awful.
Just a lot of time wasted to get back to we're just gonna draw the blood as is.
1,000,000%. 1,000,000%.
I try to keep on keeping on.